Have you ever wondered or asked yourself any of these questions? Is it worth it to do a TESOL course? Is there really a place for me in the TESOL or teaching English as a second language industry? Or is this something that I can really build a career in? Well, maybe you've asked yourself this or similar questions and wondered about teaching English as a second language. Well, keep listening because in this episode, I'm going to give you the answer. How can anyone, whether they want to work in a language school or privately from their own laptop anywhere in the world, create a rewarding and impactful career teaching English as a second language, even if they are just starting out or have no teaching experience or ability? Hi, my name is Lynette Kim, and here on the TESOL Talk podcast, I aim to answer that very question. So to answer these questions, actually, I really need to tell you about May. Now, May was a Chinese student who had been learning English as a second language her whole life. Basically, from kindergarten, she began, and her parents invested tens of thousands of dollars throughout her going through primary school, secondary school, you name it. She'd had extra lessons in her home country. And all of this was for her future, so that then when she was old enough, she could come to Australia and go to university here to learn a Bachelor of Nursing. And that would mean then she could have a future, immigrate to Australia and have a whole new life that she wouldn't be able to get in her home country. And the reason for that is because where she comes from in China, it's just so populated. There is so much competition for positions in good universities, and you need, in a country like that, to get into a good university to be assured of a good future. And there's so much competition for jobs, for good paying jobs, even to get promotions once you have a job, to travel overseas and get into universities to study. All of these things, there's just so much competition for placement. So May's parents had invested over the years just so much to help her to get a head start by sending her to Australia, and there she would continue learning English, and then from there get a place in an Australian university. Now, in order to get that placement in the university, she had to pass an English proficiency test to prove her level, that she was ready for university studies and could handle it. And so she had prepared for this test, and she had been studying almost 2 years, just prepping for passing this particular test to get the score she needed. Now, May had, by the time I met her, done this test 19 times and failed. And the thing is, this test cost students almost $400 every attempt. So you can imagine how stressed she was, all the money on the lessons, because the lessons weekly were, anywhere from $200 to $250, plus the cost of taking the test. And May didn't just have English lessons in language schools. She had private tutors to help her as well to prepare for this. And so she just was failing miserably, and she had just all but given up. So she found the flyer that we'd put out to help students like her, and just on a last-ditch effort decided to contact me and have a chat. So I invited her in, and we sat down, and I gave her, went through with her what's going on, how to look at what she was doing, and I just told her exactly what she needed to do in order to finally have success. And she followed everything to the letter. And then she went for her 20th test and got her score. And she was just, honestly, the difference in this person. She cried. She was exhilarated. She couldn't believe it, because she thought that she would be going back to China a complete failure in her family's eyes. And worse than that, she'd taken so much of their hard-earned money over the years that they'd invested in her. And then how was she ever going to feel like she could make it back up to them? Because in her culture, this is just like such a serious thing. So her whole life basically changed overnight. So now May was just so grateful. And the thing is that there are so many students like May out there, and there is a real need for ESL teachers who are properly trained, that know that what students actually need for different situations like May, and how to teach them, what teaching methods are effective for which students. And this is so important, and something that also makes English so valuable, because you don't realize the fact that you speak the English language has value, and other people value it and will pay to learn it. But you really need to understand the right way to teach and what is effective in order to do this. So my passion has always been to ensure that ESL teachers who go out there and help students like May have the proper training they need, and that they don't end up like teachers that May had had previously in lessons, who didn't know or were just trying to guess what May and students like her really needed. So it is vital and it's important, and when you do this, it's so rewarding. So there is a huge career in the TESOL industry. I mean, when you look at how many people speak English in the world, it's something like 15% of the world population out of 8 billion speak English. It's somewhere along the lines of 800 or 900 million people. And actually out of that, it's even a way smaller amount that are actual native speakers of English. And so you can see that that demand is there. And the reason English is so important is because it is the international language for business, for medicine, for research, most things that are happening in the world, scientific. English is used, and it has become the international language of communication. So people from different countries are going to communicate for business or whatever, and even travel. And to get into other studies, they need English to do that. So you often see two people of completely different nationalities speaking to each other, not in either of their languages, but in English. And that's how important English is for students' futures. And so if you would like to know more about how you can change the lives of students just like May, please contact me or one of my staff at the website TESOLAU.com. That's TESOLAU.com. And we'll put the link in the description for you. And thanks so much for listening.